everyone. Okay, so right out of the gate, the chapter kinda answers the question I had last week by revealing it's thanks to Edgeshot that Bakugo is even alive, and kicking as it were, but that Edgeshot himself only prolonged Bakugo's life. What actually held him together and kind of resurrected him to an effect was apparently Bakugo's quirk itself through a bead of sweat. And honestly, this is one of those things where I'm probably reading too much into it, but I think this is Horikoshi's way of saying that through the pretty much near-death experience Bakugo had, his quirk more or less awakened, or it's on the precipice of awakening. Now, again, with Bakugo's, at least that's how I'm perceiving what's being told to us in this chapter, because that's the only thing that makes sense. Now, again, with Bakugo's bounce back though, and him absolutely nailing All for One in the damn face where it hurts, it does still leave the question open of what the hell happened to Genius. Like, honestly, with the reveal of Edgeshot, it felt like Horikoshi was kind of purposefully, for as cool as it is to see Edgeshot save Bakugo, the fact that it's Edgeshot feels like Horikoshi purposely dancing around telling us Genius's fate. So at this point, I'm almost forced to believe he's dead. Like, I don't think Genius is alive. Like, I have to assume he's just dead at this point. That's the only thing I can glean from that. But okay, putting that gripe aside though, I am legitimately kind of hyped for the setup of Bakugo facing All for One. Like, Horikoshi perfectly set up how Izuku and Bakugo now have their own, like, personal and perspective battles to fight. For Izuku, it's defeating and saving Shigaraki, which still not sure how that's gonna work out. And for Bakugo, it's fighting All for One. Like, he's putting an end to this decades-long monster known, known to basically all who've wielded One for All. And I like how in both cases of both these fights, it's that thing of taking up the responsibility of something All Might, let's be real, kind of failed to do, which is kill All for One and save Tomura. Like in both cases of fighting All for One, All Might has failed to kill him both times, and so now it's up to Bakugo in order to be the one, in order to take up that responsibility. And in Shigaraki's case, he just failed to save Tomura, Nana's grandson, from both falling into All for One's hands and from himself. So it's fallen to Izuku in order to do what he couldn't. And again, it's kind of that duality of how both Bakugo and Izuku right now are splitting the responsibility between them and taking on the things that All Might couldn't achieve. And honestly, the only thing more satisfying than me seeing a matchup I wanted become reality is the satisfaction I got to feel from All for One finally starting to realize that everything is crumbling around him. And if I'm being honest, at this juncture, it would almost feel a little counterproductive if All for One actually succeeded in accomplishing anything. Like, he's been backed so far into a corner that honestly, it feels like Bakugo defeating him is the only natural course this can take anymore. Like, I don't know what it is, we've reached a sort of a precipice point where there's only one or two scenarios I can imagine in my head where All for One comes out on top against Bakugo, and honestly, even those scenarios, I feel Bakugo is too smart and too too battle aware of All for One's tricks to really fall prey to any of them. So yeah, at this point, like, there's only one direction this can go for All for One, which is he's gonna be defeated point blank. Like, honestly, even in the basic scenario where All for One tries to steal Bakugo's quirk, even I don't see that working. Like, that's one of the two scenarios I talked about, and even that one, I'm like, even I can only see that working. So it's like there's really only one path, one direction this can go, and for All for One in my mind, and that path is for Bakugo to absolutely for Bakugo to keep wailing the fuck out of him and just flat out defeat him at this point. Moving on slightly from that, though, I did really like the beginning moment of this chapter between Night Eye's like spirit and All Might, where we more or less set in stone that the future Night Eye predicted has been averted. All Might can continue moving forward with his life to die properly when the time comes for him. And in general, I like how the scene does feel like a more proper goodbye between Night Eye and All Might, because for as emotional as Night Eye's final moments in death were in the series, it did feel like certain things were left unresolved between the two of them, so this moment I feel kind of gave that proper resolution in my mind. And aside from that, not much else to really talk about, though. I will say, on a lighter note, seeing Bakugo generally smile is simultaneously the most wholesome thing, yet strangely still the scariest thing. Like, don't get me wrong, that's the kind of smile that could light up a room, and it's great to see Bakugo show genuine happiness. But for a guy whose entire image is being the angry boy, it just feels so off-brand for him. Although, at the same time, it was kind of cool seeing the kids from Heroes Rising call out to Bakugo and cheering him on. It's kind of an interesting parallel to both Izuku and Bakugo when they were that age, cheering on All Might. Which, I do like how Horikoshi does throw little connections like that in showing that even if there's a story from the anime side of things that wasn't in the manga, there's still some carryover there. Guys. And honestly, as a whole, it's overall a pretty good chapter. I'd say it's really just setting up a lot of the fights to come, a lot of the final battles, all that shit, and. As a whole, I really like the chapter. But that's all I got, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime signing off. Later, everyone.